As you probably know, the trailer for the One Piece live action just dropped. So I went through it frame by frame to gather every bit of information I could, and everything I learned I put in this video. To get right into it, the trailer starts exactly how everyone hoped it would, with Roger going to the execution stand and giving his speech. And immediately we see a small change where instead of stairs going to the execution stand, it's an elevator. This makes a lot of sense because the wonky stairs in the anime and manga would not have worked in live action. And cinematically, Roger eyeing down the crowd as he ascends is a lot more menacing than him walking upstairs. Also in this shot of Roger going up the elevator, on the right we can see what is clearly Monkey D. Dragon. Roger's Jolly Roger on his back here looks great, and it's a nice touch. And for our first full shot of the Pirate King, visually, he looks fantastic. The mustache is on point and his outfit is perfect. Attitude-wise, I think there's a little room for improvement. Roger in the manga, and especially the anime, emanates strength. Without even knowing how strong he is, you can tell the only reason he's not escaping is because he doesn't want to. Even in the way he talks, it's not like a man who's about to die, it's more like someone telling a story. He talks slowly, but steadily, and every word has a purpose. In the live action, I just don't get that immovable object vibe from Roger. But to be honest, that's a lot to ask for, and I'm still very impressed with how this scene looks and plays out. Also here, the executioner's outfits have been changed, and in my opinion, for the better. These guards look far more intimidating. Here's something I can almost guarantee you missed. Right here is actually a young Buggy hiding in the crowd. We get our first shot of Mary actually going through the water, and it looks beautiful. The next scene of Luffy sitting on the head of the Mary is a scene that was also in the teaser trailer. I'm going to skip talking about the scenes that were also in the teaser trailer because I already covered them in my video breaking that trailer down. The next shot with Zoro we get is our first really good look at Wado Ichimonji. It is an exact replica and it looks fantastic. If you're curious about the other sword we see here, it's just one of Zoro's unnamed swords that was broken by Mihawk during their fight. Next we see Nami with a new outfit. In the teaser trailer, we already saw quite a few different outfits for the crew members, so it seems like they will be switching clothes often, unlike the anime and manga. The following scene is a close-up of Usopp, and by looking at the background, we can see that it takes place in the yard of the mansion where Kyle lives. This shot of middle-aged Garp I love for a couple of reasons. One, Garp looks fantastic, and I think the actor is a great fit. 2, his coat is over his shoulders, so we can tell they're going to keep the aspect of Marines wearing their coats over their shoulders. He even has a little chain that would help to keep it on his shoulders if the coat was about to fall off. As these pirates break through the Marine line, we can see one is wearing a criminal brand shirt, which is actually Papag's clothing line. This second look at Roger is much more intimidating, and I think this is a lot better than the previous shot of him. Here, I'm extremely impressed with the news coup. It doesn't look fake or like bad CGI at all. It looks like an actual bird, and I have to say they did a perfect job on it. Okay, my question here is what are they swinging from? These ropes aren't attached to anything. Besides that oversight, this is a super cool fight scene, and Alvida sending this guy flying looks very anime-esque without looking stupid. Luffy climbing out on the bowsprit is great because no one else is near him, and he can't swim, so it's just a very Luffy type thing to do. The red flare here is a little confusing because we don't have a reference for this in the anime or manga. However, seen as Zoro, Nami, and Luffy are on the ship they only have between Orangetown and Sierra Village, I believe this flare is going to be a reason for why they go to Sierra Village, because in the anime and manga they just show up there randomly. Luffy's badly drawn Jolly Roger looks exactly like the anime and manga, and the scene itself is just a great Straw Hat Crew moment. The other thing here is the part where Luffy calls them the Straw Hat Crew doesn't happen in the anime and manga. Actually, the first time they are called the Straw Hat Crew is by Smoker during the Alabasta arc. In this next scene of the Mary going through the water, if you look in the back, you can actually see this is them leaving Baratie. With the exception of Usopp, we see the crew together in their original outfits, and if you look closely, Nami's tangerines are on the Mary. You might not recognize this boat getting tipped over, but it's actually Zeph's old ship, the Cooking George. So that means this is a scene from Sanji's backstory. The circus here is obviously going to be a scene from Orangetown, and for the next shot, Mihawk's sword looks pretty good. Some parts look plasticky, but for the most part, I think it looks great. Briefly, we see Mary with Kuro behind him. Kuro's sword fingers look as good as they could, and they did an amazing job with the costume design for Mary. Also in this shot, these barrels on the right say Diez on them. This is actually the brand of wine that Doflamingo drinks in the manga. The next scene is Zoro at the bottom of a well. I'm pretty sure this is some cinematic imagery for when Mihawk says, Some evidence to support this idea is that he only has one sword with him, so it has to be after his other two swords were destroyed by Mihawk. We get a better shot of the circus with Luffy and Nami way in the back, and also Kabaji in the middle here. This is the first really good look at Buggy that we get, and I have to say this is one of my favorite looking characters so far. Buggy's Devil Fruit looks great, and him shouting his attack surprisingly doesn't sound cringy. We don't learn anything crazy from this scene, but how it's shot is very cool with us looking through Kuro's blades, and especially when Luffy turns from looking at the blades to looking at Kuro. And now for yet another new Nami outfit. It looks simple, but great. And it's a small detail, but looking at the window and the white ceilings, we can tell this scene takes place on the Mary. Our first look at a Fishman, it looks okay. I think it would look really good if the Fishman were a bit bigger, but it's not the worst thing in the world. Also, the Sun Pirate tattoo is a nice touch. Another little Easter egg in this scene is that Zeph is on the ground here in the bottom right.
So I saved your ass.
Sanji has an interesting accent, however I'm pretty sure this is just the actor Taz Skylar's natural accent. The fighting is phenomenal here, and it feels like anime fighting without being too cringy. And it really just looks sick. Here we briefly get a great view of the main building of Arlong Park, and that building along with the rest of the scene looks very well put together. I really like the impact of Sanji's kick, but how he kind of floats downwards after it does look pretty weird. You can kind of tell he was lowered down in a harness. Another new Nami outfit here that looks pretty good. And finally we get a full shot of the crew in their original outfits inside the Going Merry. This little shot here we can see Garp's ship following the Merry. This is interesting because in the anime and manga, Garp and Luffy didn't run into each other until Water 7. Here Baratie looks beautiful with all the ships at the surrounding docks. And here Usopp is wearing a hilarious outfit that comes from a color spread. And if you weren't already aware, all of the crew's alternative outfits also come from various color spreads. This next shot I believe is either during the walk to Arlong Park or right before it. You can tell by the tangerines this is Kokiyashi Village, and also Zoro is wearing the shirt he has during the Arlong Park fight. Here Nami's visiting Bellemere's grave and she has another new outfit on. Arlong looks about as good as he could be. Again, I just wish he was bigger and stronger looking. However, I think the voice is on point. It makes him sound strong and threatening. The nose looks a little weird, but if you just accept that it is what it is, it's fine. Also, it's weird that Arlong is at Baratie because he was never there in the anime and manga. I'm interested to see what could possibly happen to stop their fight and make everyone move to Arlong Park. Another shot here that I think just cinematically looks really good. Zoro swearing loyalty here really worries me. Zoro's speech in the anime and manga was perfect. If they change that speech like it sounds like they are doing in this trailer, I think it would be a disaster. And also just, where's the tears? Where's the emotion? It just seems bland and disappointing. Arlong's sword in the next scene looks really nice, just like every other sword we've seen so far. The building falling down feels really CGI heavy, but I mean, it's CGI, so what can you do? With the little glance we get at the Help Me scene, I think it's going to be great. If I had to nitpick here, I would say I wish Luffy really pushed the hat down like he did in the anime. It really showed how he could hardly contain his anger. And without doing it, he seems like he's not as emotional about the situation. But like I said, this is really nitpicky, and this scene looks like it's going to be amazing. I'm not too impressed with Serious Luffy either, but I also feel like I don't see enough to judge it well. Our first face shot of Shanks looks pretty great. Although the Straw Hat does look a little funky, his outfit and Scar look amazing. Another action shot with Zoro, and I have to say, every fighting scene with Zoro has looked perfect so far. I thought Buggy looked amazing, and Mihawk looks as good as Buggy did, if not better. The costume designers and makeup artists went insanely hard here. And Zoro and Mihawk jumping towards each other just makes me even more excited to see their fight in live action. Also in this shot, we can see Arlong has not broken the door yet, so we do know that Arlong shows up to Baratie after Mihawk and Zoro fight. We briefly get our first look at young Luffy here, but we do get a better look shortly. Then we get another Sanji fight scene that is pretty impressive. The Gum Gum Gatling here is without a doubt my favorite thing in the entire trailer. It looks perfect, and it looks 100 times better than I ever expected Luffy's stretching to look. Another shot here that I'm impressed with, I think young Luffy looks great, and I think this scene with the Hattening is going to be amazing. Luffy's stretching looked a little funky in the teaser trailer, but in this whole trailer, and especially here, it looks much better. We briefly see Axe Hand Morgan's Axe Hand, which like all the other weapons we've seen, the costume design team did a great job on. A bit more stretching here that continues to look good, and if you look closely, Luffy is about to kick Zoro, which is just such a Luffy thing to do. Also, if you weren't able to tell, this is Luffy's final kick that takes out the main building of Arlong Park. Next, we have our final crew shot of the trailer, and it's probably also my favorite crew shot of the trailer, with them all lined up and ready to fight.
and I'm gonna be king of the pirates.
I have seen some people unhappy with how this line sounds, but I think that's only because they are hearing it and thinking of it out of context. If you listen to how he's saying it like Luffy often does, just randomly or offhandedly like it's not a big deal. I mean, looking at the background and his outfit, I can tell he's in Buggy's circus tent, so he's probably saying this to Buggy offhandedly, and with that context, I think he delivered the line great. This final scene of the trailer with Kobe and Luffy looking at bounties has a few Easter eggs. Of course, Alvida's wanted poster is front and center, but if you look to the lower left, you can actually see Cavendish's wanted poster. And immediately after, we get to see Foxy's wanted poster. For a first good look at Kobe, I think he looks great. And I said this in my video breaking down the teaser trailer, but I think this Kobe will transition into badass Kobe far better than in the anime and manga, where it looks like he ages 5 years in a couple months. I also want to say the background looks really great here. It actually looks lively and like a real town. And our last little Easter egg here is us seeing Bellamy's wanted poster. And finally, the trailer ends with Luffy asking where his face is, which seems very Luffy-like. And that's the end of the trailer, but don't leave yet because there's still a lot of information we haven't gone over. For one, there are quite a few pictures Netflix released that were not a part of the trailer. I'm just going to show them on screen while I keep talking. Another thing is, before the trailer, we did not know who was playing Roger, but we now know he's being played by Michael Dorman. Looking into his acting credits, one interesting thing I found is that he had a small role in Pirates of the Caribbean. Funny enough, he actually played the part of a Navy officer. Also, at the beginning of the trailer, I talked about how we could see Dragon and Buggy in the crowd at Roger's execution. Besides Dragon and Buggy, we know that Mihawk, Moria, Shanks, Smoker, Doflamingo, and Crocodile were all also present at Roger's execution, so when the first season drops, make sure to watch the crowd for familiar faces. One huge thing I realized from the trailer is that I'm 80% sure they're going to skip Logtown. For one, we get no shots of the crew in Logtown, and also Smoker, who first appears in Logtown, and Tashigi are the only important characters we don't know the actors for who should be in Season 1. What I think the case is that Logtown is only really important for a few purposes, introducing Smoker and Tashigi, and Zoro getting the swords Sandai Katetsu and Yubashiri. My guess is that to save time and money and to fit all the East Blue into Season 1, they are moving Smoker and Tashigi's introductions to somewhere in Season 2, and Zoro will get his swords somewhere in Kokiyashi Village after they fight Arlong. And we have seen the crew doing the foot on the barrel thing, which happens after Logtown, so either the trailer just didn't show any shots of the crew in Logtown and the arc still happens, or they are skipping the arc entirely. It would be strange, however, if they didn't show it in this trailer because they showed a few clips from every other arc in East Blue. And this is all just speculation, it's still possible they showed the Logtown arc, but I think there's a very good chance they skip it. I already talked about how the fishermen are okay, but I wish they were bigger. Well, MetaRez on Reddit actually edited Arlong to show what this would look like. I think him being just that bit bigger looks a lot better, and I really wish they gave him that extra foot or two of height. There's a couple more photos I didn't show on screen earlier, and here's the first one. Luffy's fruit in the box before he eats it. This is interesting because if you look closely, you can actually see the Marine logo on the box, which is foreshadowing we did not get in the anime and manga, and I think it's a nice touch. And here's the second photo, Sanji's lighter. This is super cool to see because in both the teaser trailer and the trailer, we don't see Sanji smoking, so we didn't know if he was going to be a smoker in the live action. But obviously seeing his lighter, we now know he will be. Thank God he's a smoker. The last thing I have to cover is a letter from Oda talking about the trailer. So, the live action One Piece. The teaser and the trailer are now out, and the launch date for the show itself is set for August 31st. I'll say this, there were no compromises on the show. And the festivities have already begun. It's already fun seeing the flurry of reactions after each release of information. And the very fact that adapting One Piece into live action was conceived 7 years ago is wild. How will this world be brought to life? There was so much that went into it. All the efforts by the actors, the building of the world and the costumes, presenting things in a way that can only be done in live action. The dialogue and the entire process of so many people putting their heads together was a festivity in and of itself. After the launch, I'm sure I'll hear about some people pointing out how this character is missing, or that scene is omitted, or this bit is different from the manga, but I'm sure they'll come from a place of love, so I intend to enjoy even those comments. LOL, the story will span 8 episodes and take us up through you know where. Even after the shoot was over, there were numerous scenes the production agreed to reshoot because I felt they weren't good enough to put out into the world. On the other hand, there were also some lines that I thought didn't feel like Luffy on paper, but when I saw the film scenes, I went, it works when it's Inaki performing it as Luffy. As a matter of fact, it works great. Inaki is the actor who plays Luffy. There were so many things that had to be done to keep things from looking too unnatural in the live action. The producers and the crew are pros at live action, and frankly, they're One Piece superfans too. The more knowledgeable you are about One Piece, the more you're likely to notice the love they poured into this. It was June when we made the final decision to go ahead and launch this show. My editor, who'd worked so hard on this, actually cried as he said, "It was such a long journey." Not that working hard on something guarantees success, of course. By now, I just love this production team and the cast so much that I can't wait for them to get the acclaim they deserve from everyone around the world. And if by chance people have some gripes, I'll be there to receive them together. Now, whatever feelings you choose to harbor in the meantime, it's still going to be 1 month, so please have some tea as you wait. That's everything I could squeeze out of the One Piece live action trailer. Subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Thank you for watching, stay slippery, butter out.